Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. I'm your host, John, with my bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I am doing very well tonight. How are you?
I'm good. My cocktail of choice is a cinnamon hot tea.
Ah,
I'm an old man.
I'm not any better. My cocktail of choice is coconut water, which I heard recently. So like one person somewhere said that they swore by coconut water to help their like milk production. And since then I've just been chugging coconut. I'm that person. I'm like, oh, I heard this one thing somewhere at one point helped with whatever breastfeeding or raising kids or pregnancy or whatever. And then I like am obsessed with it.
You're like, I'll try anything. Just give it to
Uh-huh.
me.
Bring it on.
I think
Bring
that's,
on the boob juice.
yeah, whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it takes. How is the baby doing?
Really great. I mean, he's growing like a weed, and it's just I'm starting now to think about like what my life is going to be like when I go back to work in a few weeks, and I'm like
Right.
terrified. It
Hmm.
is so scary because being with him and breastfeeding and figuring out all the things feels like a full-time job. So and I'm lucky that I work from home, so I'll be able to figure it out, but he's not going to go to daycare until he's like maybe like 7 or 8 months old.
Yeah.
So I just had this realization of like all day, every day, I'm trying to figure out how to raise a tiny human. And then in another 5 weeks, it's going to be that all day plus Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There you go.
Mhm.
Well, you'll figure it out. You're smart. You got it all figured
Everyone
out.
does, right? Everyone does. You did it.
Yeah, well, not like you have to. I mean, I
Right.
was the
Fact.
dad and my ex stayed home with the girls. So at least in those days. So I didn't have to figure much out other than, get up in the morning, feed them, watch the sports center, put them in the little swing, get them back to
Love
sleep
it.
and get to work.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Everybody figures out their own routine. We'll figure it out. It's daunting right now, and I'm like, if we could just slow motion the next 5 weeks, that would be great.
You should want to slow motion the next couple of decades because my baby girl turns 18 in 2 days and I feel really old.
Oh my God.
I know to have two over the age of 18 officially makes me an old man, but I'm excited. She's a good kid and she's excited for her 18th birthday. And you
Are you
know,
gonna do anything crazy or special? Like, how do you even celebrate birthdays in the post-COVID era?
oh, the same way we always have. I go over to the ex's house and we have cake and dinner and I hang out with family and celebrate with them. So we'll do a birthday dinner and she gets all the things that she wants food wise. And I've done the same thing with them every year, although I actually bought gifts this year because she gave me a gift list. But for the last 5 or 6 years, I've just given them cash because that's what they want. Like
Yeah.
they literally say, just give me money, I'll go buy what I want. And they're so happy with that. This year, she actually requested a couple of gifts, so I went and bought them, and I'll still give her some cash. but
What's on the list? What's on an 18-year-old's gift list? Like, what's cool these days? I
it's
don't know.
there's nothing cool on her list. She's a nerd. Nothing
Oh,
cool.
okay.
She's a sweetheart. It was a Land's End coat. It gets cold in Cleveland.
Oh,
I don't know if you know
those are
that.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
well, I mean, she's also like she's really into fashion, so it's a cool little coat. And then this sun lamp thing that I guess is supposed to you shine it on your face in the mornings and it helps your rhythm. I don't know. It was too much for
For
me.
like seasonal whatever.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, it's Cleveland, so like the clouds come out here in like a month and they don't go away till April.
Yeah.
So
No, I would love one of those. Are you kidding me? That's a great gift.
yeah, so those
Hint,
are
hint, wink, wink. Someone send a DM to my husband because he doesn't listen to this show.
I'll send it to him. I'll make sure he
That would be
knows.
great.
Yeah, so it's good. But I guess my point to all that is it's just like I've been very reflective the last couple of weeks that I've got one that's 20 or turning 20 in November and the other one that's turning 18 in a couple of days and it just feels like it's gone by so incredibly fast.
Yeah,
But every day's a joy and we still do lots of fun stuff.
that's awesome.
So you're going to be so impressed. I'm so prepared tonight.
Tell me.
I am so I was thinking it was like because I've been doing so much of this on my own lately and then doing the other stuff with Ben where I do all the prep. Like Ben just shows up and I just tell him what we're talking about. Which for everyone listening, that's usually the other way around on this show. Nikki tells me what we're talking about and she does all the legwork. And so I've been kind of forced into this, and I'm getting good at it, man. I'm getting real good. So
I'm so glad because for the last 7 weeks I've been useless. So this is great. Tell me what we're talking
all
about.
right. Well, so I got a few things. So first thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to someone. So a buddy of mine, this is like such a small world in CrossFit. This buddy of mine, it's actually not a buddy, is the guy he's the CEO of the company that hosts this podcast, by the way. He goes, Hey, he's like, hey, my brother-in-law or my brother is on the board of directors of Steve's Club, and they have this thing going on. Would you mind helping them? I'm like, well, I know what Steve's Club is. I'm like, of
Hell
course.
yeah.
And I know your brother. So sure. So I ran a call with them this morning. And so here's the deal. So Steve's Club, which I know you're familiar with, but our listeners may not, is they're a group that helps underprivileged kids, basically, and in underserved communities. And they've recently gone through a name change. So they've changed the name from Steve's Club to Forging Youth Resilience. And so basically what it is they're on this mission to empower young people to build physical and mental strength. And they give them access to a network of community-based fitness programs and mentor programs, which I think is just really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So they're raising money in October. So they're doing this workout fundraiser. They call it Ignite. And it was developed by the youth athletes, which I think is really cool. And they do that to, teach them empowerment, which I think also is amazing. Like as someone who has kids, that's a really important lesson to learn early. And so anybody can join, whether you do it from a gym or at home. You don't need a lot of equipment for it, and you're helping raise funds for this. And they're trying to raise $90,000, which is, obviously a really cool goal, and can really help them. So you can go to their website, which is forgingyouthresilience.org. They have an Instagram, Facebook page, both Forging Youth Resilience, or in a Twitter handle, which is Forging Youth. And yeah, it's really, really a great program. Like they do so many great things for kids. I can't say enough about them, but everything you donate, 100% of the proceeds will go directly to helping these youth athletes across the country. And so, yeah, I'm going to do the workout. I couldn't even tell you what it is. They told me this afternoon, it was a lot. It's like a chipper. I'm like, okay, it sounds terrible. I'll do it, and, but it should be fun. So
I love it.
Yeah. forgingyouthresilience.org, which is,
I love it. I think
cool.
it's worth mentioning too, that Steve's Club is like an OG in the CrossFit space, like way before anyone knew what, before the Reebok and CrossFit partnership, when we were all still wearing our very first Innovates, when we were wearing the Vibram 5-finger sneakers, Steve's Paleo was the only company making anything with the word paleo in it. And they would make these it's like caveman trail mix, I like to call it. So it was kind of like beef jerky with some nuts, with some dehydrated fruit in like a vacuum sealed bag that you needed like the jaws of life to break into. And you could only order them online. Like they weren't in the grocery stores. Like no one was talking about paleo except for CrossFitters, and you couldn't get products or swag or anything anywhere. And since Steve's Paleo had started that way back in the day, he had been giving back via Steve's Club. So it's cool that they've kind of evolved, like a new name, a new mission, or I would say same mission, but updated tactics. This is a really cool challenge.
So apparently I did not do my research very well, because I didn't connect those two together. And that's really amazing, because I remember Steve's Paleo being an OG and did paleo for a while. So I remember them vividly. So I didn't realize they were together. So that's awesome. Yeah. It makes me even happier. So
I love it. Cool.
Second thing that's kind of cool. So you'll like this story. So I don't know if you remember, I partnered with a company called Transcend Defy Limits, which is an apparel company. We made some socks. Remember the socks?
Yeah. I literally just wore them the other day because they, you made some ankle socks or some oh my God, crew socks, but they also sent me some running socks that I really loved. So sorry.
So I did, I made some scale and bale socks. And then I also did this partnership with them on the socks called Her Name, which were pink, and they were designed to raise money for charity. And so when they reached out, they go, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, absolutely, but I won't take a cent to do it. Anything that's raised, we're going to donate to a cancer charity. And I didn't think another thing of it. Like literally, I've not thought of it since. And they messaged me a couple of days ago. They go, hey, we need an address to send your portion to you. Now, keep in mind, there's like a low profit margin on these socks. And I'm like, all right, well, how much, what's my portion to donate? And they're like, we got a check for $1,000 for you. And so we're going to donate $1,000 to battle cancer.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to help our boy over there, Scott, who does amazing work within the CrossFit space, helping people that are battling cancer and fighting through that. And I was, as soon as they told me we had the money, I'm like, we haven't given money to Scott yet, so it's coming to him. So
I
as soon,
love it. Ugh, battle cancer is like just one of my absolute favorite charities in the space, but also in general, because they're really doing work that you don't think of. Like I know people donate to cancer research and they donate to, start trying to find a cure, and that is so important. But the people who are affected by cancer every single day are going through this monumental, difficult life experience. And to be able to gift them with the gift of fitness to help them get back to their everyday lives so they can actually live. Because when they get diagnosed, and even if they go into remission, God willing, they sort of leave treatment and they're like a shell of a human, and people just expect them to be able to pop right back into their lives, and they
yeah.
can't. It's just impossible. So being able to kind of like regain their lives through fitness is like, oh God, this is a mission that everyone's been touched by cancer. And so I just identify with it so much. I
Well,
love it.
I'm just really excited to be able to help their cause even a little. I think it'll be great. And for the record, Transcend Defy Limits is also donating money to a separate charity.
Cool.
So they're doing an equal amount. I don't know the charity offhand. We've been swapping DMs and I haven't gotten all the info, but they'll do a post on it this week. And you guys can check out their stuff at transcenddefylimits.com. You can see the socks we're talking about that are out there. They're also sending me the remaining scale and bell socks. So we're going to give some of those away.
Yes.
So.
OMG. That should be a plug for go over and listen to John's other podcast, Scale and Bale, which is my new favorite podcast. I'm obsessed with it. You would think like you and I talk so often that like I wouldn't listen to you on another podcast, but I do. I'm obsessed with it.
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and I don't do that often. But I was on a trip this week, and I was in the car for 3 hours one way, 3 hours back, and so it was like podcast after podcast. And I listen to ours because I occasionally will do that just to get
Do you?
ideas. Yeah,
I
sometimes just to
never
get
do.
ideas. Well, I like to go back and go, all right, did that suck? Did it? Like I can't remember. Was it good? And it gives me ideas for things we should talk about.
Yeah.
And then I listened to some others. I listened to the new CrossFit Games podcast that I didn't know existed. Did you even know this was out
Right.
there?
No, when you sent me that link, I was like, hey, what?
I had no clue.
Like there was a CrossFit podcast a million years ago, or there was like the
Yeah.
CrossFit Journal Radio.
Yep.
And then CrossFit, I feel like they tried to do a podcast like a couple years back, and there was like one episode uploaded onto Apple forever, and then it just like disappeared. So then when you sent me that link, I was like, okay. And I looked and there's like 4 or 5 episodes up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And this one was a big one. It was Chase Ingram, who's a friend,
Mm-hmm.
did an interview with Ricky Garard. Did you listen to it? Have you listened to it at all?
What was it like?
I have a lot of takeaways. So I'll start with something really unusual. I'm going to apologize to the guy. Like after listening to it, I felt really bad. It never occurred to me that when this went down, Ricky was 22. Like that's young. Like my daughter's 20. She's a
Mm-hmm.
baby in
Mm-hmm.
my mind. I know that makes her an adult, and she has to own her own choices. And I'm not defending or, any of his choices, any of that went down. I'm just speaking for myself that like I look back on, all the hate he's gotten over the last 4 years, and anything I contributed to that through memes was inappropriate, just my
Hmm.
opinion. And so I feel bad. So I know he doesn't listen to the show, but if any of your Australians hear it and you want to tell him I said this, feel free to play in the clip. Ricky, I'm sorry if I contributed to any of the hate. It was below the bar.
So is
You
your
know?
perspective now like, all the same things we've been saying, which is he never should have done that and he should have owned up to his mistake, et cetera, et cetera. However, he was a dumb kid at the
No,
time.
no,
Is
no,
that
no.
kind of the
I'm not.
lens? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not excusing any. I'm just only speaking for myself here. Like, all what I'm saying is he was a kid who made a really bad mistake at a young age. And while everybody was piling on, I piled on with them.
Understood.
And I shouldn't have done that. I'm a grown man. I'm a grown ass man. I should not have done that.
Well, one of my favorite things about you, John, is you're real as hell and you own all of your actions. So I appreciate you when you memeify people, and I appreciate you when you take it back.
Well, yeah. And, as looking back, I was trying to look back, I don't keep notes on all this stuff to see what I actually did. To be honest, I don't like doing memes about performance enhancing drugs because to me, they're not funny. Like it's just,
Right.
it's not that, and again, that's not a judgment. It's just not a lot funny about performance enhancing drugs. And I think when I went in on it was when his brother got busted. And to me, that was the funny part. It's like, okay, your brother got busted for the same thing, bro. Like, all right, yeah, it's a little bit allowed. And
Yeah,
there is
there's
some,
a there's a hold my beer meme in there
yeah,
somewhere.
there's
Yeah.
absolutely like I can look at it and go, all right, I can see why I did it. But I also wasn't taking into account like the vitriol that this was before even I had experienced some of it. I'm not making excuses. Like I should know better, but looking back on it now, I'm like, man, this guy was a young dude, 23 years old, 22, makes a really bad mistake on a huge public stage, and compounded it by lying, and everyone knew he'd been busted, and it's got to be rough, and I'm just like
Yeah.
imagining my kid, making a critical error like that because they're young and they absolutely will. And I've done plenty of dumb shit in my life, yeah, I just feel bad. That's all.
Yeah. There's a human on the other end of that. And I'm glad you recognize that. That's pretty cool of you.
I did have some interesting takeaways from it, though. There were some moments that were really interesting. Like he owned up to everything, which I thought, yeah, well, I don't know if I have a lot of thoughts on that other than, good for you. Like get that off
Yeah,
your
good.
chest. I'm sure you feel better. There's certainly, I think you hear about this a lot of people that struggle with alcohol addiction is that, when you start making amends with people, you can really come to grips with it and move forward. And I think that's, a great first step to getting back
Yeah.
into the community. I was really interested in some of the discussion he had. Like he said in the podcast that he was told that the drugs or the supplement he was taking was probably illegal. He'd gotten a text and he kept taking it. And then he went to regionals and qualified and got tested at regionals and passed. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, like who at the CrossFit Games group approved this interview? Like you just had someone on your podcast that said your testing sucks. It's like, and you're interviewing them. It's just like, I realized
Or,
that, there are ways to cheat the test, but from his
yeah,
description, he wasn't even trying to cheat it. Like he was
that
rolling
was
the
my
dice.
question. I was about to ask, like, did he cycle off of it
I
in
think he may
time
have,
for regionals?
I think he may have unintentionally cycled off. It doesn't sound like he was like,
It sounds like he knew what he was doing.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, he says that he's like, look, I was a young kid. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I'm just taking the stuff and, um, so it sounds like he may have unintentionally. And the other thing that was weird is when he got tested at the games, and this part was a little funny to me because I remember hearing Fraser talk about getting tested. And I know I've seen athletes get tested or,
Oh yeah, me
been
too.
around when that happens. He goes, they follow him to the bathroom, but they don't watch him pee in the cup. And that's unusual for a drug test. So again, it's like you got somebody on your podcast admitting that your testing's flawed. Now he got busted, so it's not that flawed, but it's weird. And then the biggest thing to me was that he's only been tested once in the last 4 years. And it was just a few months ago.
Well, so that actually, that last part doesn't surprise me because to me it sounds, and I actually have no idea what it's like when you're banned. Like I don't know what your relationship is with the organization that bans you for that period of time. But in my mind, it feels like if they're like, your band will see you in 4 years, it makes total sense that they wouldn't. There's like a brick wall in between this guy and this organization now. Like he's dead to them for 4 years. Like it doesn't surprise me that he would, because technically in that 4 years, he can do whatever the hell he wants. He just can't compete in CrossFit.
Well, that's not completely true. In those 4 years, he has to tell them where he is, just like he's a competitive athlete. So he has to enroll with them, tell them when he's moving, where he's going, the same, just like every other athlete does. So they could randomly test you at any time. It just seems weird to me that they didn't test him, but
it doesn't seem weird to me because if I'm them, I'm not wasting my money or resources testing someone who's not going to be able to compete until he is able to compete, in which case, yeah, a couple months ago, leading up to when he's going to be in Dubai in December, competing in a sanctioned event. So
Yeah, I was just
That
thinking of it through the lens of, like, Fraser said on a podcast how infrequently they were tested. It's just, I what's and this again, this is just commentary, and it's not anything I'm upset about. I'm just like trying to wrap my mind around it. Like, we're talking about
yeah.
this is a health company, not the NFL, and so you would think putting a premium on proving the people that are competing have a natural lifestyle would actually be more intense than less intense. But I know there's a cost to that too, and it's hard to track these guys down. And to your point, he wasn't actively competing. It's just feels weird to me that it is so infrequent. But they also indicated that it seems like they've kind of kicked up the program's harder now than it was before. So that's a good indication that maybe they're wrapping their arms around this too. I don't know.
Yeah. And I like that all this is happening on their podcast so that they're, we're all kind of like going through the motions of learning what happened and how to grow from it together.
Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. I mean, I know Chase, and I made fun of him a little bit. I messaged him and I'm like, "Hey, good job on the interview." And he's like, "Oh, thanks. I was so nervous. I just didn't want to F it up." And I'm like, "Oh no, you effed it up. I just wanted to say good
Oh,
job."
oh, yeah. No worries.
No, he did great. It was interesting to me, like, having it's kind of the same way I've always felt about official CrossFit media. Like, you're covering your own sport. It's hard to be critical. And I thought they did a good job of actually asking the hard questions. I still would like to see him on a neutral site. And by
Yeah.
neutral, I mean truly, truly neutral. Someone that has no connection to CrossFit, like a CBS or some sort of news source. But I did think they, Chase asked the hard questions. He asked a lot of follow-up questions. He asked really specific questions about his accusations against Frazier and would he apologize to Vellner and a lot of that stuff. So kudos to him for asking the hard questions, and hats off to CrossFit for allowing it to happen.
Oh, this sounds like a juicy interview. I'm gonna have to go listen.
It wasn't. I guess it's juicy in the fact that you get a lot of detail. It's not juicy in the fact that it's just not very conversational. And and I don't know if that's just if Ricky's not a conversational person. It was probably because he seemed incredibly nervous, as you would imagine.
Yeah, of course.
And so he gave a lot of really short answers, which, as an interviewer, you and I would be able to tell you is really, really hard to interview someone who's giving short answers.
The worst.
So
it's the
hard.
worst.
Yeah. And the audio is a little weird. Like, he's wearing, kind of Beats headphones, which are the worst to record through. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's maybe even a little bit of a lag because, he's in Australia and Chase is wherever Chase is.
Dallas.
Yeah. So, I'm sure it was tough,
Yeah.
but you get a lot of detail. So it is juicy
Cool.
in the detail. The only other thing I came away with that I hope changes is, he indicated he didn't really have any intent to talk to Pat or apologize. And I still think, again, it's probably, I don't even know if it's my place to say, but I love Pat. We all know that. And, Pat lost that podium spot. And I think it would help Ricky to apologize to him. Not that, I don't know if Pat even wants it, but if I were sitting in Ricky's seat thinking about it now, I would imagine it would be time. But you got to leave that to him, I guess. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wonder if in his head he's just like, this is so long ago. Like,
that's basically what he said. Is like, that bus has left the station, is what he said. It's been so long, and I understand that too. I mean, this, again, I'm not defending anything that happened. I just, you're talking about, the difference between being 23 and 27 doesn't seem like a lot, but it's
a lot.
I remember when I was 23 and I remember when I was 27, and a lot changed in me in those 4 years or so. And
those are growing years for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So we'll see, but, I appreciate the fact that they did it. And, the only thing I really hope comes from it, I'm hopeful based on the fact they did this interview, that they become more and more transparent on what the testing looks like. Since they're willing to ask the questions here, I think now would be a good time for CrossFit to come out and go, here's what the testing is going to look like. Here's who's been tested, and publish those results. Here's who got popped, which they have been publishing that, but, keep it out on the web for people to see.
Yeah.
I think it's important, and so anyway, and CrossFit Health is back.
I saw that.
And it's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for them. Yeah, I had some notes here on them. I mean, so what I think is cool about them coming back is before I'll give you a little backstory. So when I started this podcast with Chad and we went out to see Glassman, Chad's a PT, so he's a physical therapist, technically a chiropractor. And we get out there
Okay.
and we're talking to somebody within CrossFit Health. And I just offhandedly I go, yeah, Chad's a chiropractor. And they're like, oh my God, don't tell Greg, he'll lose his shit. You know, I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he hates chiropractors, doesn't like it, you know. And he was hell bent on making sure that CrossFit Health was only for MDs. Like that was it. Got to be MDs. And the new CrossFit Health is open to anyone that's in the medical profession, which I think is great. You know, open it up to all healthcare providers. And for me, I think that's really cool because you have so many people. Like I just think of all the PTs and chiros and nurses and whoever that are in gyms helping people day in and day out that can now, you know, really get full access to CrossFit Health, which is a terrific part of the organization.
So when you say it was just for MDs and now these people have access, does that mean that they can like go get their L1s, or are there resources online for them? Like what exactly, if you have access to CrossFit Health, quote unquote, and I'm asking for a friend literally because, Matt is a doctor of
Yeah.
pharmacy
Yep.
and would totally be interested in doing whatever he can to certify through his medical career.
Yeah, so that's a great question that I'm probably not fully prepared to answer. I can tell you that their website says that they'll be providing education networking solutions
Cool.
to people. So
Cool.
I would imagine, based just off that sentence alone, that yes, you're certainly going to have more access than they've ever had before. I talked to them about this at the games, and they swore me to secrecy. They're like, you can't tell anybody we're doing this, you know. And I promised them they could start coming on the podcast. So hopefully we can get some of them on. As a matter of fact, one of the doctors reached out to me and we need to book him.
Oh, great. I would love that. That would be awesome. Literally every time I get hired by CrossFit to do an event, Matt jokes. He's like, when are they going to hire their pharmacist? Resident in-house pharmacist for me for a job. So if anyone from CrossFit is listening, which they're not, hire Matt, but they should, they truly should. And I said this to Eric, this was a while ago. He was doing an Instagram live and they were talking about CrossFit Health and talking about the MDL ones and bringing more medical professionals into the swing of things. And that was like one of his long-term goals, which he's clearly now delivering on. So kudos, new guy, Eric. And I specifically at that time said, please include pharmacists in your network of medical professionals, because the reality is like the doctors are making the diagnoses and the pharmacists are the ones that are talking about the medications and how much and when and why and where. And if you're in the field the way that my husband is, you're not into drugs. Like you're
Right.
not pushing pills. What Matt does is he counsels people to get off of their medication by educating them and explaining to them what they can do differently in their diet and health and lifestyle to get off of their chronic meds. And so that is the type of brain that we need in the space, alongside the doctors who are making the prognoses, are the pharmacists who are able to say what you should and shouldn't take and
Right.
why and when and what you can do in your life to avoid it. So
Well, funny enough, you say that. Their little blurb that they put out said that the program is going to focus on creating a network of physicians dedicated to improving lives of people without relying on pills. That they're trying to make positive changes in the medical industry by educating care providers and patients in a medication dependent industry. So it's probably would be great to have Matt be a part of it,
yeah,
because he can help. He could certainly help with that. And it's
seriously.
funny. We were just talking about this last night. I was talking to Ben about this last night. That someone asked, like, how do I, find a PT? And I'm like, you need to, or, find a doctor that will help me. And I'm like, you need to find one that will help you move and focus
Mhm.
on diet and exercise and, won't lead with, hey, go take this, like
Yes,
it's so
exactly.
important to move.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's like Matt's whole jam is like he meets with patients and does that. He's like you can in the offices he works in, like you could see the doc or you could see the nurse or you could see the pharmacist. And it's like the way of the future, because these people are the ones who are educated on, basically the over medication of our entire populace and
Right.
how to sort of like try to wheel back from it. It's sad to realize how many people like they just want the drugs. They don't want to do the work. It's sad.
Well, the work's hard, Nikki.
I know.
The
I
work is
know. The drugs
hard.
are hard too, though, because they jack you up.
Yeah, I know, but the
They
work's
fix one
hard.
problem, start another one.
Like you're dealing right now with recovery,
It's
and
true.
I'm dealing with old age, and I'm not saying that as a joke. Like the work is hard.
It is. No, you're absolutely right.
You
And when about 5 weeks into my postpartum anxieties, when I really started to like turn around, and I've been feeling so good the last couple of weeks, so knock on wood that sticks around. But in the time when things were rough, I would have done anything for a pill to fix it. I truly would have. It would have been easier than going to therapy every week and just sitting with
right?
needles at acupuncture and, taking magnesium at night. Like if I could have just taken a magic pill to make it go away, I sure as shit would have. So you're absolutely right.
Well, and there's sometimes you need to take a pill. Like I don't want
Oh,
to make,
totally.
I don't,
Totally.
I mean, Matt's a pharmacist, so I don't want to make it sound like what he does is voodoo. Like, that's science too. And there are certainly
Yes.
moments where you need to do that. And, you got to trust that your MD's making good decisions for you or helping you make good decisions for yourself to do that. So I don't want to make it sound like we're anti-science, anti-meds. Like, that stuff exists. And I'm sure you took plenty of meds during your pregnancy and post, like, most people do, um, but anyway, I think it's very cool. We'll get one of their doctors on in no time flat.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be awesome. I would love that.
so here's the big news that I had. I had two big things in my list here I want to talk about. The one I'm most excited about, Sarah Sigmund daughter is back in competition. I'm so excited. So excited.
Oh my God. I adore this woman. Seriously. Just everything she's been doing lately is like so on point. Like the way that she chronicled her healing journey and how open she's been about, everything that she went through with her female health and sort of like just being such a great mentor in the sport without even competing.
Yeah.
Like just being herself and having that make her the figurehead that she was. And God, what she's done is just, I love her. I'm so glad that she's back.
Oh, I am too. I mean, she tore her ACL back in March. So it's been, how many months is that? 6-7 months, I guess. So she obviously missed the game season this year. She was out in 2020 with a bacterial infection. She fractured her rib in 2018. Like she's had like kind of a string of injuries, and like I don't have a lot of favorites, but she's one of my favorites, no doubt, because she's always like super energetic, super positive, super nice. But when she's competing, man, there's just like, I love people that get intense when they compete, and she gets really intense. I just love it.
I do too. I do too. And if you haven't read, I don't know where the article was published, but I'm sure the Morning Chalk Up will link to it. If you haven't read the article that she wrote about how basically when she was overtraining, she lost her period, and how that was like, she was very against that. She was like, that was detrimental. And she didn't know, just know what she wants for her reproductive future, but she knew that that was wrong. I love that she was a voice in that space, because it is not healthy and it is not right to overtrain or be so lean that you lose that. And that can cause some serious long-term damage. So, it's kind of become commonplace to it just happens. And we just kind of accept that in the athletic world, and we shouldn't. So I'm glad that she said that.
Well, a little birdie told me we're going to have her on the show soon.
Hey, is that little birdie named Snorri?
Yeah,
maybe.
Snorri and I have talked. So I love talking to Snorri. Snorri's her agent. For those that don't know, he looks like me, but stronger, or just strong.
Just strong.
I love Snorri because he does look like me. He's bald and got a beard, and he plays guitar, and he plays really well, by the way.
Yes, he's excellent.
Really well. And he's like the European Matt O'Keefe.
Yes.
Manages all the best athletes out in Europe, and super funny dude. And he and I think we chatted one day for about an hour via DM, and you had already connected with him, and he was like, we'll have her on next week. And then like the next day you went into labor. I'm like, well,
I think I had a baby. Yeah.
Like, I think we're putting this off for a little bit, Snorri, but we'll get back to you. So we'll have her on soon. I'm going to totally fangirl. I'm just going to call it right now. I'm going to be useless. So you're going to have to handle that interview for me.
Deal.
And the other big news, your boy Guy.
I was gonna say this news too. Okay, great.
Is a Mayhem athlete now. Look at him.
I mean, hoo-wee, Mayhem is snatching up all of the best kiddos.
I mean,
come on.
You think they've already taken him to Cracker Barrel?
If not, then they're like, what are they even Tennessee folk? Really? I mean,
Oh,
really.
I was so excited when I saw it. I mean, I love the kid's enthusiasm and how fit he is. But he just seems like a genuinely nice young man. And when I saw he was in Tennessee, I'm like, what's he doing in Cookeville? Like, he's a Brazilian, like he's
Uh-huh.
not supposed to be in Cookeville. And then, I hit the C translate button because I don't speak Portuguese and, and sure as the world, he joined Mayhem. So
Yep.
good,
It's
good for
wild.
him.
It's
Yeah.
wild. And I don't know what the deal is with Mal, but I had seen some like Instagram stuff of her and Haley training together, like doing some stuff together. So I don't know.
I
I
think
don't
they're
know what's
new
going on
besties
there.
now. I think, I love seeing really great athletes train with each other. I just think that's really cool
Mhm.
that they're able to do that.
I just think the whole Mayhem franchise is so smart. Like everything they do is smart. They're got great business acumen. And Guy's just an awesome kid. I mean, I have been working with this kid since he was like 17 years old, and I was doing all the reporting for the age groups. And ever since then, he has just didn't speak much English back then, but he was so sweet and just genuine is a great way of putting it. It's really nice to see good people excel in this sport. It's
Yep.
really lovely. It's setting it up for the future, truly.
Well,
Like
and it
got
should be
good people in
noted
there.
since he's going to be there with Haley. Haley got a new cat for whatever that's worth.
News of the day.
It is. She got a new kitten and it's very cute. And she had to socialize it with her older kitten. And we sent a lot of DMs back and forth of, of me commenting on how cute this kitten was and me wanting to know how they were getting along in case I ever decided to get a second one around here. So
Bean number two.
somebody messaged me the other night and they're like, what's it like to be around all these, the fittest women on earth? Is like, are your standards too high to date? I'm like, well, to be honest, we normally just text photos of cats back and forth. Like, me and Haley, me and Danny, like it's always just cat photos. I'm like, I'm like someone's old cat lady. So
You're like your dating standards are really low, but your date has to have like an epic cat.
yes,
Like the cat standards are really high.
yes, the cat standards are really high, really, really high. So last thing
Oh,
I
is
had
it
on my
bad if I wait? You cannot walk right by the opportunity to call it the pussy standards.
Yeah, no, I was letting it go. I
Ah,
was letting it go. I was trying
but
to be good. I was trying to be good, and you ruined it.
no,
You ruined
sorry.
it.
Or did I make it better? I
Maybe,
ruined it. I maybe
maybe you
ruined
did.
it.
Maybe you
Sorry,
made it
sorry.
better. The only other thing I had on my list, because I thought this was really cool, all my besties in one place. So you were on Girls Gone WOD with Joy and Claire.
I was.
How was
So
it? I love
it was
them.
so fun. I have been friends with them for ages. They had me on the show a million years ago when my brother was living in Denver and I went out to visit him. And so I caught up with Joy. And it was funny because she reached out and, they came back. Like they have
Yep.
This Is Joy and Claire and they have their Ready, Set, Bake podcast, but they're bringing back Girls Gone WOD to start talking more freely and openly in the fitness space again. And she messaged me and asked me if I would come on and talk about being a new mom and being a new mom, like, and getting back to fitness and CrossFit and all that stuff. And we spent so long in the beginning, kind of just like going through my journey from not wanting to have children to wanting to have children, because those are questions that they field all the time, because Claire has two kids and Joy has none by choice, and that's kind of just like a topic of conversation that's common. We talked about that for like an hour and a half. We didn't even really get to like the fact that I have a kid now
Right.
and like what's been going on since. So we have another date to record next week to do like a part two, but it was so fun. We, of course, derail our own conversation over and over again. But it was a really good time.
I love them. I think they are both very clever. Their podcasts are great.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about them is they've been, they wouldn't know this, but they're kind of been a mentor to me through this, like have given me really sound advice on how
Oh.
to, the mental challenges that come with, having listeners that yell at you. and,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, they're very good at mitigating that. They're very good at like standing their ground and being like, well, then, smash that unfollow button.
yeah. The one thing they taught me, I don't think I've ever told them this, but the one thing they taught me is that their show is just the two of them talking about their opinions. It's not they're not trying to sway your opinion. they don't even want to know what your opinion is. They just are posting it. If you want to listen to their opinion, feel free, but you don't get to tell them what their opinion should be. And I think that's really cool. And it's started shaping my mindset as a creator of I'm going to create what I like. And if you don't like it, fine, but you don't get to tell me what I get to create. Like, it's really simple, you know, and
Love that.
and you know, and it's been very freeing to be able to do that. And it's helped me through both of these podcasts of thinking, all right, well, I'm going to talk about the things I like. And when I'm with you, I'm going to talk about the things that we like. And if people like it, that's great. And if they don't, well, I guess they'll vote with their feet, but you know, we'll hope for the best, you know.
I love that. I love that. That should be your, like, what it says in your bio on Instagram. I'm going to create what I'm going to create because I like it. And if you don't like it, that's fine, but you don't get to tell me what I like.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there aren't enough characters in the Instagram bio to put all that in.
Damn it.
I know. Well, I was glad you're on there because I love them. Full disclosure, I've not listened yet. I just, they sent me, you know, the screenshot that you had done it. I'm like, oh, I got to save that for later. So it's on my listening for tomorrow when I got some time in the car. So,
oh, fun. Tell me what you think.
I absolutely will.
I have something to share. This is just kind of funny. Hang on, let me pull it.
Oh my God. If you're pregnant again, I quit.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? Oh my God. Wait, side story. So when I went to my 6-week check with my OB there, they were like, do you like, what is your plan for birth control? Because, you know, people say that breastfeeding kind of like minimizes your chances of ovulating again. And that's true, but it's not surefire. Any Irish twins will tell you that.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And so, you know, most people, when they have a baby, they don't want to go right back to potentially getting pregnant again. So she's like, what are you thinking? You want to get back on the pill? You want to put an IUD in, like whatever. And I just looked at her and I was like, my method of birth control will be abstinence.
Yeah.
Like, who walks into their 6-week appointment and is like, I'm ready to stick something else in there?
I'm sure some do. I'm sure some do.
Oh my God. Who are those women? Because I'm just over here being like, what do my stitches look like, lady? Like, come on.
Well,
Don't you be asking me about getting pregnant again.
Hey, look, you said the term Irish twins. I know plenty of people that have babies that are like, you know, 12 to 14 months apart. Like really, I mean, me and my baby sister are 18 months apart. We're real close.
I know. You know, I think going into this process, we thought about it. We were like, it'd be cool to have them back to back. And, you know, I'm only 8 weeks out now. And I'm like, slow your roll.
I mean, mine are like 22, 23 months apart. And I love
like
it.
that. I like that.
It's like almost perfect, to be honest.
I like. I know Matt was very close in age with his brothers, so he's into it. And my brother and I are 9 years apart. So there's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And I love that too.
Yeah. All right. What were you looking up? You're looking something up.
So someone sent me a DM and it was in response to the episode where like, I didn't know that goddamn was a swear. That was totally real. So this is from Aisha Jad. And she said, I'm a senior officer in the Canadian Army, and we have an expression that I live and die by. And this identifies me so much. It is, quote, if you take peanut butter out of my diet and fuck out of my vocabulary, I'll starve and I won't be able to tell you about it. And I was like, can I please share this on the podcast? So Aisha, that is perfect. It is me to a T. Thank you for sending that to me.
That is you to a T. I'm
going to live and die by that motto now.
Oh, and now you know all the swear words, so that's even better.
Yeah, I'm so educated.
Educated. There you go. All right. Well, after this, we have Sam Dancer, who I recorded an episode with when I was at the CrossFit Games. Everybody knows Sam. He's been on before. He was great as always. We spent a lot of time talking about his new charity, and so that's cool. I think really cool for everyone to hear and you know, kind of his journey with that. And full disclosure, Sam is funny. Sam says a lot of things that are very questionable, and what I mean, and I say that with love, and he says it with love because like his vocabulary is not always perfect. And at some point he said something, I must have raised my eyebrow because he goes, yeah, that wasn't right. Was, you know, like, I forget what he said.
What?
Well, like, you know, we're talking about, you know, we're spending a lot of his charity focuses on, you know, kids with developmental needs. And I forget how he referred to them, but it wasn't the most appropriate way. right?
Oh, I see. I see.
And it wasn't a horrible way either, if I remember right. I haven't listened back to it yet, but I just remember him saying to me, I know that didn't sound right, but please understand this, like all of this comes from a place of love. And I truly believe that about him. Like he's such a loving, caring person that I don't think he often thinks about like what he's saying, because it's just coming from a place of love,
Yeah. I think we're all guilty of that. And there's definitely a balance between like being perfect and politically correct and like just speaking from your heart. So, if he says the wrong thing, but he recognizes it and is just kind of like, I don't know if that's right, but this is coming from a place of love. I think that's
yeah.
the
The point
most you
is
can ask from someone.
yeah, it was like a unique and different interview. And I wasn't, censoring him or policing him. And I don't think any of it was really bad in my memory, but I just thought it was kind of an interesting interview, and he's a fun guy to talk to.
Totally.
So we did in the back of the Strong Coffee Company van, and he's a big dude. So like, getting him inside that thing was a job in amongst itself.
Oh my God. If I could podcast from that thing 38 weeks pregnant, so could Sam Dancer, please.
Well, he's a big dude. He's still bigger than you, but
it's actually probably true.
he's a big boy.
His quads were as big as my pregnant belly.
Yeah, but it was fun. So it was a good interview. So we'll play that after this so everybody can listen to it. And yeah, that'll be that. And I think we have maybe one or two left from the games, and then we'll be back on a regular schedule. And hopefully we can get Sarah and some of these other people on very quickly.
Perfect.
So, all right. Anything else? You got anything for me?
No.
How prepared was I? Was I good?
This was excellent. The only thing that I had was the gi thing. So the fact that you brought it up already, where I've just, you should do all the planning from here on out.
No, absolutely not.
Nah.
I already have a job, and it's not this. So
I hear you.
All right. Well, this has been fun as always. Tell Matt I said hi. Smooch the little smiley baby for me.
I will.
I'm loving the pictures, so keep posting them. My mom is loving the pictures, so keep posting them.
Oh, okay.
And for everyone listening, we appreciate you guys joining us once again, and we will chat with you guys soon.